Good afternoon, Wahlberg families. It's Miss Jones here with another wonderful speaker. We have Miss Amber Fitz. She is an accomplished early literacy specialist with the North Carolina Department of Instruction, NCDPI. With a strong educational background from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, she brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise in literacy development to our district. Her role focuses on enhancing and growing literacy skills among students, ensuring they have the foundational tools necessary for academic success. Assigned to our district, Ms. Fitz is dedicated to implementing effective literacy strategies and fostering a love for reading among students. Her commitment to educational excellence and her collaborative approach will be instrumental in driving our literacy initiatives forward. As we work together, we look forward to benefiting from Mrs. Fitz's insight and innovative practices that aim to elevate our students' learning and experience. Welcome, Ms. Fitz.
Thank you so much. I'm elated to be here.
We are so glad to have you. I asked you to participate in our school podcast so parents can have an understanding of one of our resources, and that's UFLI, or University of Florida Literacy Institute. As educators, we know this is a small piece in our journey with students to become more successful readers. So my first question for you is, how would you elaborate on how this resource is being used in our classrooms?
Yes, so UFLI as a curriculum is really being used to supplement phonics instruction that's happening daily in really kindergarten through third grade classrooms, and then for intervention purposes as students still have gaps in fourth and fifth grade regarding their decoding or their alphabetic knowledge to decode words. One of the things that UFLI is being utilized as a resource for in our district and at our school is really to give students multiple opportunities to practice. That's really the intent of UFLI. It's that explicit practice that students need, not only with the decoding or reading of words, but also the encoding or spelling of words, and really giving students that multiple practice. Involved with the practice is also the teacher's opportunity to kind of gauge where student misconceptions are lying within the phonics knowledge of that student, and then giving that student really responsive feedback that can help them further their journey with learning to read.
Okay, so within those focus lessons, those are broken down in 2 days. During those 2 days, teachers meet in small groups or whole classes for some schools to teach their students those particular skills. What would you say would be the most helpful for parents to support their child through this learning experience?
Yeah, so with UFLI and throughout the routines of the lessons, the second day of the lesson, which is really where we want students to apply the skill that's been taught over 2 days, is a decodable passage or a connected text that gives students the opportunity to apply the phonics patterns learned into real text. And so one of the things that I would just reiterate for parents in a way to aid your student with the UFLI learning experience is to use those passages to just read with your student to make sure that their confidence is growing regarding those phonic patterns, because truly that's the point of reading. Is we don't want students to learn these phonic patterns within just words in isolation. We really want them to see that connection between the pattern in the text that we read daily in our instruction and in the classroom. And so one of the things that parents could really do with their student to really benefit this work and this connection, this bridge between classroom to home practice, would be to practice with those passages at home. That is really giving parents an opportunity to see how the student is progressing with these skills.
So in your experience, what improvements have you seen in students' reading skills since implementing or using the UFLI resource?
Yeah, so I've seen tons of improvement with students with their skills. The biggest thing is the confidence, because a lot of times when we think about phonics instruction, we're always going based on a scope and sequence. So a teacher teaches a phonics skill to a student, and then that student is, charged with expanding the skill into further skills further on. UFLI builds in a spiral review, so a student is always going back to previously taught skills within the first half of the lessons. So they're incorporating that interleaving process where I'm learning new skills, but I'm also practicing old skills, which is going to be so crucial for students to have that spaced practice over time. And so just one of the benefits that I see is just student confidence in attacking text because they feel confident with those skills, but also the spelling aspect. The students feel confident in the encoding piece because they have multiple opportunities to practice the spelling with their teachers through UFLI. And so that's one of the biggest benefits that I see is just student confidence, but also that relates directly to the student data because we're seeing leaps and bounds of improvement in student scores, you know, and their measurements moving forward as far as showing us exactly what skills are needed to be confident, successful readers as we progress until even 4th and 5th grade. And it's giving students that confidence and ability to make sure that they've solidified these skills so that they are skilled readers moving forward as they progress.
That makes sense. So with those lessons, there's also a component that UFLI provides teachers to be able to send home, which is the home practice sheet. How can parents use this resource to help their students? Can you walk us through kind of verbally what that looks like so that when it's in front of them, they have a good idea of what to do with it?
Yes, so the home practice or home connect letters that go home with the UFLI corresponding lessons, the first thing that it gives parents is that skill that the student has been working on in the classroom with their classroom teacher. For example, if I've been working on the short A sound in class with my teacher, then that home connect gives parents not only the skill, but they also give parents sample words that include that phonic pattern that you could read with students. And you can think about with your student, are they accurate with reading the words aligned with this pattern? But also, is it automatic or is it labored? Because that's something that you could even read through the word list with your student and help build their confidence at home in aligning it exactly to what they're learning in the classroom. Another portion of the Home Connect for parents is going to be the heart words that UFLI teaches explicitly to students. So these heart words are irregular words that don't necessarily follow regular spelling or reading patterns. And so these heart words through UFLI are taught directly to students explicitly in reading and writing. And so another portion of that letter that would go home are those irregular words that you could practice with students. What's great about practicing those words with students is that they've already been explicitly taught at home. So you're just piggybacking what happened in the classroom and giving that student that provided extra practice. There's also word chains within the home connections. And so word chains is where a student takes a word such as the word mad, and they might be asked to change the word mad to sad. So the student is manipulating individual sounds within words, which is an aspect of phonemic awareness, which is really the magic of reading, is if students can master phonemic awareness, they're pretty much going to be pretty solid as a reader. And so those word chains are really helping students to practice and manipulate sounds within words to couple with that phonemic awareness aspect. They even give parents within the letters a sample script that you can use for those word chains. So that can be helpful when you're thinking through, how do I even pose this to my student in practicing this with them? And then the last aspect of the home practice sheets is there always is going to be a text component, which is either going to be sentences or a paragraph that aligns with the pattern that was practiced in class with students. So parents can read with the child, listen to them read, kind of see what are they doing with their accuracy, are they reading those sentences correctly, and then you're able to see the misconceptions that students may still have that the teacher is also working on continuously in the classroom as well. So it helps bridges that gap between phonics instruction in the classroom to how we can couple that with application and practice at home with these phonics patterns.
Yes, I think, and that's a huge piece of this, and why we're doing this podcast is so that we can have these conversations with parents, give them some knowledge so they can ask the questions on how to help their kids, because a lot of times we don't know how to help them.
That's right.
So the way we would communicate this resource to parents, what are some different ways that that lesson could go home?
So one of the ways is, I think, just explaining to parents, you know, what is this resource that's coming home? Because I'm a parent myself, and sometimes we're inundated with
Right.
things. And we don't always know what is the responsibility of us, you know, to even practice what's happening in the classroom. So I think the biggest thing is just explaining to parents what this resource is and how it can be utilized in the classroom. Like we just talked about the components of the Home Connect letter, but also giving parents an opportunity to ask questions about it. You know, maybe you're unclear about a section of it, like the word chaining and how that should look. Or what materials you might even need at home to conduct it accurately. But I think just communicating back and forth with the classroom teacher and asking questions about what kind of practice would be beneficial using the Home Connect letter with this home practice aspect of UFLI, I think that would be the most beneficial. Maybe pulling it out, telling the parent what patterns the student is currently working on, and then going through the aspects of the routines in the home practice so the parent can understand it and ask questions if needed.
Great. And these usually will look like a half sheet as far as when we print those out. It'll say UFLI, home practice at the top of it, so if you see that come home in your students' folders. It could also be communicated through Class Dojo if your teacher would send that as an individual message to you. So there's various ways, so that's something definitely we would want you to communicate with the teacher, what would be the best use for that resource for your family, whether it be digital or it be within a piece of paper. So Ms. Fitz, thank you for your time today and for bridging the gap between learning in the classroom and at home. And until next time, keep growing and exploring.